Excellent. So we'll move on from there. Thank you all for taking the time to provide your feedback. That's going to be a very important baseline. So the goal here today is to do an update, to give information. We have directors, chiefs of various departments here to give an update. We're going to do a 2-minute update with each one of them, and then we're going to have the opportunity for a question and answer. So again, very much informative. You know, we're here, we're having a lot of decisions that we got to make as a county, and it's important that we're having the dialogue. You folks receive the information. It's very important for all of us, and we feel that's very transparent and open, and be able to have this. So it's very exciting to be here in person. Happy that all the directors could make it, deputy directors, division heads, etc. Good to see you all. Really stoked to be here. So, you know, doing this twice, 3 times, so by the 3rd time we'll have it dialed. So bear with me.
We'll be back.
Third time is a charm. Figure I'll fall on my face at least once or twice through this. Perfectly fine. Used to it. So, but yeah, really want to make sure that we're all informed. So the format will be, we're going to go through 2-minute intro. Each director will intro themselves, or division head will intro themselves. 2-minute update. We'll go through that, and then we'll do Q&A. Each person will have the opportunity to ask a question. And then once everybody time permits, we'll go through a 2nd round. If there are additional questions afterwards, in between the flow, we can get with Garrett, and we can put those in the parking lot questions to get back to after. And again, we'll be back, maybe not at this location, but we'll be back at a similar event in a few months from now too. So this isn't the end by any means. This is the beginning of an ongoing, continuous dialogue. So. I'm just going to introduce everybody here. Starting from this side, we have Lee Lord, Managing Director, Dora Beck, Division Chief for Wastewater, Ramsey.
I'm the Director, Ramsey Monster, Director
of DEM, Greg Adele, Division Chief, Solid Waste, Pekka Rodenhurst, Department of Public Works Director, Scott Uehara, Department of Information Technologies Director, Keith Okamoto, Department of Water Supply Director, Kavika Uehara, Deputy Director for the Department of Water Supply, Ben Mccall, DLNR, and John Kitahara, Consultant for DLNR, Pohoiki Boat Ramp. So, since I have it on my list in this order, I'm going to follow this order. Guys, is there any general questions about format right now? Should be relatively simple, straightforward. Thank you for your undivided attention. Okay, so we'll start with Public Works. Okay.
I'm Pekka Rodenhurst, Director of Public Works. I was going to give a brief update for our road infrastructure. I brought this up previously. We are restoring sections of Pohoiki and making improvements to sections of Pohoiki, as well as restoring and making improvements to sections of 137 so we can create some flow in the community. Starting off with the inundated portions of Pohoiki. We have submitted our design to FEMA. It's currently under review. Hopefully we can hear back from them soon and get their approval to move forward and get that project out there and start construction. Still on schedule for that. Hope to hear back from FEMA this month with positive results, and then we can, if that's the case, we can begin construction anticipated in September of this year for the upper portion of Pohoiki. For the uncovered portion of Pohoiki, we are working to make a realignment of the road to make safety improvements for the users of the road and to give respect to the protected mango trees as well. We have no intention at this time to touch those mango trees. If for some reason that ever changes, we will make sure we talk to the community and keep everyone involved in that. But that's our plan at this time. Our scope is currently working to be finalized this month. It is with FEMA for their review at this time. We are estimating that the design for the lower Pohoiki section will be finalized by November of this year, and anticipating FEMA approval by July of next, with construction anticipated to start in October of 2022 for the lower realignment of Pohoiki. As far as 137, 137 from Four Corners, we made a decision to go all the way down to Pohoiki. We have the design estimated to be finalized at the end of July. That is a delay from the last update. A couple months we had to push it back because we made a decision to go all the way through to Pohoiki. With that being said, we're anticipating FEMA approval, hopefully by February of next year. and anticipating construction by May of next year if that timeline is achieved. And then for 137 from Mackenzie to Pohoiki, it follows the exact same timeline. We're making adjustments to get the design finalized in July and hopefully get FEMA approval by February of 2022 and anticipate starting construction on that section at the same time, May of 2022. That's our update for the roads, and that's what I have for everybody right now.
Awesome, thanks Greg. So all of our directors, that was 2 minutes, 10 seconds, nailed it. I have instructions to have very critically good timing, so thank you for that. Okay, next we'll move on to Department of Water Supply. Keith.
Alrighty. So right now, currently, all we have that we're working on is a possible coordination with the Kaika folks on the water line and following the Pohoiki Road project. The biggest concern or challenge for us is the subsurface temperatures. The water line, although it's ductile iron, the gaskets are rubber, and basically they cannot survive in an environment that's significantly higher than 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Basically they'll soften, melt, and there goes the integrity of the water line. So obviously we're not going to spend a lot of money if those are the physical conditions and put water line where we know for sure it's going to fail. But in the event that the subsurface temperatures are below those, below what the gaskets can handle, we'll coordinate and piggyback with the Public Works project to bring the water line back down Pohoiki Road. So again, that's a big if, but we're preparing if that's a possibility. Currently, we don't have any plans to go along 137. We're really wanting to see what the results of the potential buyout program is. That's going to affect our decisions to continue to, whether or not it's prudent or feasible to continue the water line down that segment of roadway. One point of clarification that I did want to share with everybody, FEMA did not give us $30 million. We don't have that in our accounts. So how it works is we even have to ask them for permission to do individual projects like the water line down Pohoiki. So we're going to have that conversation. We're hopeful that it's going to be a yes because I think Ikaika folks have already gone through that process. But there's no guarantee, but we're hopeful that they'll allow us to proceed in the same lines that Public Works have been able to with their individual projects. So how it works is FEMA has to approve the project, the scope, and everything. And then typically what happens is it gets awarded, it gets put under construction, and then the money can get distributed back to the water supply at that point. And we'll have to come up with a 25% match. So basically that's all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, now we'll move on to our mass transit update. Lee Lord will be providing that. The floor is yours.
Again, my name is Lee Lord, and I'm actually the managing director. So by charter, I step in when the mayor can't and also supervise, but basically support the directors of all the departments. So I'm there to help them when they need help. I couldn't work with a better team. They're all very willing to ask for help when they need help and understand what's going on, but they're also very competent in what they're doing. So right now, I'm the one, Trixie could not be here, who's our temporary assignment person for mass transit. So I'm going to let you know, when we walked in the door in December, we kind of had to start from the beginning because that's where the project was. Nothing had been done for 12 months. So we got the team together, and of course we have planning on the team, Public Works is on the team, finance is on the team. Occasionally we have a council member, and welcome council member Matt to our meeting. And we have everyone on board that we need on board for what we're doing, so everyone knows what we're doing. So basically the general site selections for a bus hub, because we're going to have a hub with the different spokes going out, is we need a minimum of 2 to 4 acres. And then we need ease of access for buses and patrons. We want a surrounding mix of uses. We don't want a bus hub out here. Better to have it near stores, people, activities, so when they're waiting for a bus, maybe they get another chore done at that point in time. And also where people are gathering and they know where it is. Pedestrian and bicycle access and available for supporting infrastructure, meaning we have to have the availability of utilities, water, wastewater, etc. for the bus hub. Our general scope of the transit hub is we need room for 4 buses for turning around, for loading people, and also possibly for maintenance there, minor maintenance. Electric charging stations, as we're getting some electric buses, and also, what are the other buses? Hydrogen buses. So we need those services there to be located and have a spot for those also. Also, bike and pedestrian facilities and parking for vehicles and bicycles, and including growth space for in the future. A covered waiting area, of course you know why we need covered waiting area. Ticket kiosk and also restrooms. You know, we need to make sure people have a place to go to the bathroom if they're waiting for a bus. Our next steps, where we are, and it's going to take about 3 years to complete at this point in time, complete the site selection and environmental assessment. That will be approximately 6 to 9 months. We're right at the edge of that. Basically, we're at the site selection and environmental assessment procurement right now. The up-to-date and clearly Zendo and Ikaika sometimes have more up-to-date information than I have, but we're the scope for what we needed for the environmental assessment, to tell the environmental assessment what we want them to assess and include in the assessment, has been finalized. We also have different sites that we selected, but we have to ask the people that own those pieces of land if they're going to be willing to sell it at some point in time, should the county decide that's the land that would be the best to use. So we're right there at that point in time. So we're going to complete the site selection and the the environmental assessment in the next 6 to 9 months. We're going to secure the site or purchase it if it's not already publicly owned. That takes about 6 months for the purchase. Then we're going to begin the design phase of the bus hub. Takes about 9 to 12 months, and then begin construction phase 9 to 12 months after that. So we could be done in 3 years. We don't see any road bumps at this point in time, so we're hoping that we can follow the schedule. Thanks for being here, because you all are the ones, it's your community, our community, and you're the ones who make the decisions of where we're going, so thanks for you wouldn't be here if you didn't know how important your input meant to us also. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lee. All right, moving on. We're doing an update on the Pohoiki boat ramp. We got Finn Mccall here from DLNR Dobor, as well as John Kitahara. They will work this out. So Finn, you got the floor.
Hi everyone, my name is Finn Mccall. I'm the engineering branch head for the State Department of Land and Natural Resources Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. We manage most of the small boat harbors and boat ramps in the state. And so we're responsible for maintenance and operation of the Pohoiki boat ramp. So as you know, during and after the 2018 eruption, the boat ramp got filled in with all that flat sand and lava debris. And so just to give you a current update on where we're at with that project, after several iterations, when the bay first started filling in, it appeared that there was almost no end in sight with how much material was coming in. And so we started looking at alternative boat ramp sites along the Puna coastline. And if you're familiar with the Puna coastline, it's not a very friendly coastline for boat access. So, there's very limited options there. And then, so as we were looking at alternate sites, as time went on, we began to observe that at Pohoiki, a lot of the material that had been building up was actually naturally been eroding there. And we'd also met with the community members and who were strongly in favor of keeping Pohoiki boat ramp. Because the boat ramp itself is fine, it didn't get damaged by the eruption. And it's really just the sand and lava debris that's there blocking it. So our current plan now is to dredge out the channel that was there. Instead of dredging a narrower section where the channel was, the plan now, or the concept is, which may be subject to change, but the concept now is to go wider and take that dredge material and place it on beach on the south side and or on the newly formed lava to the north. So currently right now, because of the scope of the project, we had initially tried to use our EA exemptions to expedite the process so we could get the fishermen in the water sooner. Turns out that because of the scale of the project, we couldn't use our EA exemptions. So right now, we're starting on the EA process. We're expecting that to take about 6 to 9 months. And after the EA is done, well, before we start the EA, we also have to get FEMA to approve our scope of work and the costs associated with doing the design and permitting and EA. So once they approve our scope of work, then we can move forward with doing the actual EA preparation and going through that process, which we think will take about 6 to 9 months. Once the EA is done, then we apply for all of our permits. We need to get permits from the Army Corps of Engineers and other agencies to do this type of project. And once our permits are in hand and our design is finalized, we put the project out to bid, we award it to the lowest responsible contractor, and then they do the actual dredging work. Another component of the project is the slopes of the channel. We intend to put slope stabilization matrices there. So essentially holds down all the loose material that was excavated out to allow for unobstructed travel in and out of the channel there. So that's kind of our direction with Pohoiki right now, and we're moving forward with it. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Ben. John, do you want to say anything?
I'm the only non-government guy here. I'm his consultant. Basically here to do what he says, but also with a huge responsibility and honored with the task of doing public outreach with you folks. So we're going to be doing an EA, as Finn said, and outreach, working with the community is a huge part of that. So if any of you folks have questions, either during this thing or after, please feel free to reach out to me. We can exchange information, and I'm happy to talk story anytime.
Thanks, John. I just also want to appreciate your latitude and flexibility as you guys are going through the process. I know it's been a process, and really thank you guys. So, Ben, I got the main question for you. Is you going to get a surf break out there for us too, buddy? No, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Mother Nature might do that for you. I don't know.
Guaranteed. All right. So awesome. So we have about 35 minutes for Q&A. Again, hopefully, great opportunity. We got the directors here, divisions head here to get into this conversation. I'll be selecting the people. We'll go through one at a time. I'd say, please give me your name and then area in which you live. Subdivision's fine, and then we'll get into the question. We'll get into Q&A. If we get through everybody, we'll do a second round. If there's anything left over, we can go ahead and park it. You can see Garrett, and we can park it over here on the side. So, anybody's got questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, we'll go with Paul.
So Keith, I have a question for you. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but in 2015, the USGS did a baseline water study, and they tapped into a couple of the wells, the county wells. Some of the wells they couldn't get to because they weren't being used, and they weren't able to do tests. Now that study was for geothermal, to see if there was any geothermal coming down. And the good news is they didn't find it. So that's really good news. But that was 2015. Now it's some 6 years later, and there's been a lot of changes in the geology. Also, if they're going to do that kind of testing, they recommended, yes, you should do some follow-up. And these are the things you should do. So they did a good study. I think they really did a good job. But if you're going to do a study like that, why not also get a baseline for the health of the water? They were saying test the near shore springs and the fish ponds. And I'm part of a coalition of people who are concerned about the entire watershed. So, and that includes the Hawaiians that have generational fish ponds right on the shore, and they're concerned about the health of the springs that come up there. And if you're going to do that kind of testing for geothermal, it would be good to do testing to see if cesspools are affecting the water in the fish ponds, and also also along the shore, and also agriculture. Now, right now, there probably isn't a lot of activity down there, but there's going to be a lot of changes when all those roads come through. So it'd be really good to get a baseline study that sort of puts its arms around the entire watershed and says, this is what's happening, because those springs are key to everything that happens in Lower Puna in terms of the ecology. So what we're asking is that someone from the county request that the USGS do a baseline study and include these other factors, and do the things that the author of the study, Bill Evans, asked for. He said, if you're going to do more, look at these other wells. Basically, it'll take some money to clear out the wells so that they can do the testing. And if money's a factor,
So Paul,
I just want to say
just real quick, we're framing it for as much questions as we can. If we're getting into more suggestions, comments, and this other dialogue, we're gonna run out of time and go.
Okay, so anyway, if you want to, I had some ideas about how we could fund it if that's.
Sure, yeah, we can dialogue offline.
Okay,
for sure.
great. I'm not sure, are you familiar with that study?
Yeah, so basically they asked for permission to sample some of our sites. But really that was a USGS study. We just tried to collaborate and partner with them to allow them to utilize some of our sites.
I see.
Yeah.
So for the sake of just kind of moving forward, I'm just gonna go down the line. So we'll go one back, then we'll move down, we'll move across all the way to there. So. Yeah.
Thank you very much for creating this forum of information. My name is Leilani. I live in Hawaiian Paradise Park. And to Keith, if you find that the subsurface temperature is more than 150 degrees, could you, as an interim solution to the water need, consider a catchment? Like just even putting up a huge false roofing so that water could be caught and there could be water available to the Pohoiki boat area. So that's just temporary.
No, great question. So as we all know, this island is huge. And we don't have water systems everywhere. Catchment is prevalent, especially down in Puna, Lower Puna, Upper Puna. The challenge when you seeking federal funding, however, is that it has to meet the government standards for a permanent system. They won't fund temporary. So I totally get that. Certain things make sense. The other challenge to that approach is the water quality component. So that requirements. So if you go catchment, that's pretty much considered surface source, and you need a proper treatment. You need somebody who is certified to operate that system. So there's other challenges, but we're always open to good suggestions, and we can talk about maybe possibly if there's some options that we could consider in lieu of a permanent system. It's just that the bottom line is we're resource strapped also. So we don't have the funds or the manpower to even operate a system like that. But there could be opportunities for somebody from the community to maybe help us with those solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. Well, I'm just gonna go down and we'll cut back across just for the simplicity. So Eileen.
Okay, we're on the topic of recovering water to Pohoiki, so I'll go with you, Keith.
Thanks.
Sorry. But it also reflects on Ikaika. There's been some discussion in Public Works about recovering Upper Hinalo Road. And the reservoir at the top of Hinalo Road was previously part of your system. Would that be advantageous for bringing water to Pohoiki if you can have access again to that reservoir? Is my first part of the question. And with regards to what Paul was saying, the county got some HUD mitigation money that is to mitigate these types of events into the future. So perhaps some of that money could be used for said study that he is discussing. Several million, I believe, came to the county, and maybe we were can confirm. But anyhow, that might be a source for that funding. But what about the reuse of that reservoir? It's still there?
Yeah, it's still there. Again, same challenges that it's been kind of cut off by the lava inundation. So we would still have to run pipelines to and from it. But the current design that we have in mind would basically bypass that tank.
Okay.
And if anything, we probably put a pressure regulating valve station to lower the pressure so that it's not too high as it goes down the hill. But
Okay.
right now, yeah, we're not intending to connect back to that tank.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Name and where you're from.
Mark Phillips. We lost quite a few properties in vacation land, 8 properties, including our residence, and 3 other long-term rentals. And I was president of the water board for a period of time. We had a contract with the county to provide water to us in perpetuity, and we paid for them to reserve capacity for many years, assuming that capacity that we didn't use, but we still paid for. Why are you even considering not bringing water down 137 to vacation land? Because you're either going to have to provide it or get a lawsuit. Those are the county choices.
Okay, well, if it's, yeah, so we're trying to make prudent decisions. Basically, we have to look at all our, the whole customer base that we have island-wide. So we want to make sure that we're doing things that make sense for the whole. We understand the challenges that you folks have gone through. I think there's some misunderstanding that if we, as far as our obligations to restore, because I don't think we're on the same page as you folks on that.
What were you accepting standby money for capacity in the future for if you are now saying that you don't have an obligation and you have to balance that against the needs of other parts of the island?
Yeah, so we accept standby. Basically, standby charges is really set up for when meters. Basically, we just have to cover the cost to have the availability for certain existing service levels. That's kind of what's.
We ran the system. All we did was have a contract with you for future capacity in case we needed it.
Okay, yeah.
And we were paying for that every year for years and years in the past. And there's no other justification for you accepting that and not providing service now.
Yeah, I think then we have a basic disagreement on a contract, because I'm not aware of a contract.
And I'll jump in because the conversation I think is probably going to get quite a bit lengthier.
Right.
But maybe another time. Thank you though very much for that. Do you want to ask me a question?
I just want to beg Kīlauea to please keep up with getting those big boulders out of Government Beach Road and getting that resolved. It's not just only a hazard, but to me, every time I look at those, it's an insult. And I want to thank whoever, for cleaning up the road. It's so much nicer than it was. And unfortunately, there's one mattress and I think a car or two. So, but we'll keep writing things down, whatever. But please keep on with that so we can have our road back.
Okay, and let us know if there's any issues with our right of way. There's something that's going on that I'll need to address, and we'll be responsive.